Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Godzilla King of the Monsters is the sequel to 2014 Godzilla film directed by Michael Dougherty, starring Millie Bobby Brown, Vera Farmiga, Kyle Chandler, and many others. The plot of this film is pretty basic. A monster company known as Monarch is tracking down these monsters, and one of them is King Ghidorah. While that monster is starting to rise, one monster is out to stop that monster, the one and only Godzilla. Now, I was really excited for this film. This has been one of my most anticipated movies of the year and summer. I love Godzilla. He is one of the most famous movie monsters of all time. I thought the 2014 Godzilla film was good, not great. I was a bit underwhelmed by it. I thought it was well directed. Bryan Cranston was great, even with his minimal screen time, sadly. And there were some amazing sequences in that film. But the rest of the human characters were lacking, and the second act wasn't quite as strong as the first act or even the third act. And I'll post a link to my 2014 Godzilla review if you want to hear more of my thoughts. And when I saw the Comic-Con trailer for this movie, I was super excited. I was really excited. I love the trailers for this movie. It got me so excited. I was hoping this would be an improvement over the 2014 film. It looked like they were correcting their mistakes. And I saw this movie very recently, but haven't had my chance to review it yet. But finally reviewing this movie, and what did I think of Godzilla King of the Monsters? Did I like it? Did I love it? Is it amazing? I was underwhelmed by it. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it deserves the 40% score on Rotten Tomatoes. It had its entertaining moments, but not great as I was hoping it would be. But there are some good things about this movie. I'll get to the pros first. First, this is a very well-directed movie. The director of this movie, Michael Dougherty, has directed a few horror movies, Trick or Treat and Krampus, before this movie. And I gotta say, for his first $100 million plus film, he did a pretty good job with this movie. I thought he did a good job getting the scope of the whole thing. He directed monster fight scenes very well. The visual effects in this movie are terrific. The designs of Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Mothra are fantastic. The textures and the details to every single monster all looks amazing. So I want to give major props to the visual effects team. They did some great work with these monster designs. The cinematography in this movie was amazing. There were so many shots in this movie that made my jaw drop. Definitely want to remember some of these shots in this film for a long time. Use of the colors of blue, yellow were great. The performances from the cast, they're decent. I wouldn't say anyone in the cast was particularly bad in this movie. They're fine. If I could find some performances that I thought were good in this movie, I would say Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things fame gives the best performance in the movie. I thought she did a pretty good job. And Bradley Whitford has a few funny lines in this movie as one of the people working for Monarch. And the rest of the performances, not really bad, not really great either, just decent. One thing I really liked in this movie definitely listened to the criticism of the 2014 Godzilla film and definitely gave you more of the monster fights and more Godzilla screen time. Godzilla has much more screen time than he did in the 2014 film. They were definitely exciting and awesome to watch. Really enjoyed the monster scenes in this movie. I do respect that the filmmakers listened to the criticisms of the 2014 film, but sadly I do have some flaws with this movie. I will get to those right now. First, I felt like this movie got off to a rough start, to where I felt like it was so slow, boring, and uninteresting. Didn't really quite fully grab me yet. I get they were trying to set up characters and set up things, but definitely took a long while to get going. It definitely picked up when we first see King Ghidorah and Godzilla on the screen, which I felt like that's where the movie picked up. First act of this movie, meh. Second act, pretty good. Third act, awesome. I do think each act of this movie got better and better in my opinion. And my biggest problem with this movie is the lackluster character development. The human characters in this movie just really aren't that interesting. Don't really get emotionally attached to any of the characters. Not really wants to care about them throughout this entire movie. And they try to add in a conflict with this main family in the film, but just wasn't quite enough to make me care about them till the end of this movie. Felt like the human characters in this movie were forgettable and uninteresting. There were definitely some lackluster character development in this movie. Just wasn't quite a strong balance between the awesome monster stuff and the human characters too. And one final thing, there was just some cheesy and corny dialogue in this movie at times, and One particular line in this movie that I thought was pretty laughable was when Vera Farmiga character does something and her daughter, played by Millie Bobby Brown, is there, and she says this line that pretty much made me laugh. It was just so laughable at the way it was handled. And she says this line, "You're a monster." I felt like that line was just so cheesy, a bit laughable, and a bit on the nose in that scene. Just some of the dialogue in this movie is pretty cheesy. But overall, Godzilla King of the Monsters is a bit underwhelming, but it has its entertaining moments. It's a well-directed movie, it has terrific visual effects, the cinematography is amazing, and especially there are some awesome monster sequences in this movie. But it has a weak first half, the characters are undeveloped, made me feel underwhelmed after watching this movie. But there is still some good stuff too, where I did find some enjoyment in this movie. And if you haven't seen this film yet, well, even though this film came out 5 weeks ago, and this is a very late review, so maybe it's still playing in theaters, maybe not, but if there is a chance this movie is still playing in theaters and if you're thinking about checking out this film, check this film out if you want and hopefully you enjoy it. Overall, I am going to give Godzilla King of the Monsters 3 stars out of 5. Not a bad movie, not as great as I was hoping it would be. It does have its entertaining moments and some good stuff too, but there were some parts that underwhelmed me and didn't quite fully enjoy this movie as much as I wanted to, but still found some enjoyment in this movie, so we'll see about Godzilla vs. Kong next year and see how that film turns out. So what do you guys think of Godzilla King of the Monsters? Do you agree? Disagree with me? Let me know below. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.